Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Jim Hoven, and I am so glad to be with you today. The only thing that I wish is that it could be live. I wish that we could be together, that we could be sharing information, sharing ideas, that you could ask questions, that maybe I would give you some insight, because now as a 53-year-old person, as opposed to a 16, 17, or 18-year-old, I've had some experiences and my life has taken some different journeys that I hope would bring some value. But instead of us being live to do it together, we're going to do our best to give you a short presentation, because I know if I were sitting in your spot, the last thing I'd want to do is watch a 1 or 2 hour video of something. So we're going to try to keep this short. I'm just going to give you some basics of things that I've learned as going through where you're at into a career, into switching careers, and give you an opportunity at the end to reach out to me if you have questions or anything I can do to help, okay? So that we don't waste any time for you, I'm gonna start sharing a program, a little PowerPoint for you now, and hopefully it'll bring some value to you. I love, by the way, the fact that we are working with Junior Achievement on this program. I had a chance to meet with the Junior Achievement folks and just go through their mission, and their line here that we see on the slide, let's build the future. I am 100% behind that. I agree with it 100%. And I think that I want to be part of the group that's investing and pouring into the young people of today, so that when you guys are in your 30s, 40s, 50s, as you're leading this country, that we're in an incredible place because we're led by incredible people like you. So as we go through this, give thanks to the people in the Junior Achievement Program as you come to them. Always good to give thanks. One of the biggest lessons you can have is gratitude to the people that are helping you move forward. And hopefully this program brings you some value. So as we move forward, just a little bit about me. And the only reason I bring this up is to give you the first line of this slide, where you see the journey isn't always straight. If you look to the left of the screen here, or my left anyway, you'll see 2 logos. One is for Ramos Law and one is for FitMD. That's what I currently do. I'm the director of operations for Ramos Law, which is a law firm that takes care of people who have been injured, whether it's through car accidents or work injuries. We also help people with business issues, with employment issues. Got a lot of things going on at the law firm. And so I help with guiding and developing systems and marketing and business development and care for people that have been injured, making sure they find the right doctor. So I kind of have a really broad role for that company. And then I also am a partner with Dr. Joe Ramos, who owns Ramos Law as well. He's a medical doctor and an attorney. He and I are partners in a company called FitMD, which helps people with either medical weight loss or people whose hormones are imbalanced and they need help with a bioidentical, so in other words, a natural hormone replacement therapy. So those are 2 things I'm currently doing. But as you can see from that first slide here, where the journey isn't always straight, as a high school football player, I got hurt and I damaged my neck pretty good. And that's how I ended up going to chiropractic school. My dad had always said, hey, I want you to be a doctor, a lawyer. And like most great teenagers, I said, I'm not going to listen to my dad. And so I wanted to go in a completely different direction, maybe follow him into real estate or something along that line. But all of a sudden, upon getting injured in football, I ended up at a chiropractic office. And that chiropractor was so good to me. Besides taking care of my body, he took care of my mind. And I had an English assignment one day, and the English teacher said, write about what you might want to do for a career. Well, I got the assignment and I went in for treatment for my football injury that afternoon. And he said, why don't you look at being a chiropractor? And I was like, wow, you think I could be a chiropractor? So we talked about it, and he was my biggest fan. So one thing, as you're going through this process at your age, look for mentors. Look for people that believe in your vision and in your dream. Look for people who maybe see something in you that you might not see in yourself yet. And then once you find them, stick to them, ask them questions, make sure that you soak up all of the energy, all the wisdom that they have, because that's what really helped get me into chiropractic school. Because I will tell you this, I had a teacher in high school, and I hope there's no more teachers like this, but at high school, this guy meant well. He was a good human being. But in my trigonometry class as a junior, he told me, Mr. Hoven, you can't even pass a trig class. How are you ever going to be a doctor? And in that moment, I had a choice to make. I had to say, am I going to fall to this and say, yeah, you're right, I can't get through this class. How am I going to make it through such a difficult program as a chiropractic program? Or was I going to go the other direction and say, you know what, I don't care what you say. Your opinion doesn't define me. And thankfully, I had enough people in my support system that believed in me, that shared a desire to help me get to the top of what my potential was, that it didn't let me get held back based on one person's opinion. So that's another little piece of advice I can pass along is Don't get caught up in what people say with respect to what your limitations are. Use them to propel you, but not to hold you down. Anyway, as a chiropractor, started opening clinics, did some great things, and was recruited then by a chiropractic franchise. So when you see franchise coach, there was a franchise that said, hey, we see what you've done. Will you come help us grow this company? So that was a company that I went to in 2006. And from 2006 to 2017, we grew from 6 clinics in one state to 402 clinics in 38 states. It was quite a ride. And through that time, I learned more about leadership. I learned more about teamwork. I learned more about helping people achieve a common vision and a goal than at any other time in my life. And I had already been in practice for 16 years on my own with my 5 clinics, but this was a whole different animal. From there, I ended up buying a gym while I was still doing some of these other things. I got a side gig as a gym owner. By the way, we're all going to make some mistakes. For me, that was one. I mean, I learned some valuable lessons, so it wasn't really a mistake. But as far as investment goes, that was one that didn't work quite the way that I would have liked it to. And then finally, I ended up in the 2 positions where I'm at now as the director of operations for Ramos Law and as the FitMD partner. And so the only reason I share all those things that have kind of constituted my professional life with you is because, as this title says, the journey isn't always straight. I thought for sure that the way my life was going to go is that I was going to graduate from chiropractic school, open a practice, have one practice, treat a whole bunch of patients here in Denver, and that the last thing I would do, my last act on earth, would be to be provided an adjustment, which I believe changes not only how people feel, but it changes their level of health and their level of well-being. I thought I would do that and my work here would be done and I would drop dead on the side of the table and that would be my life. That was when I was 20, 22, 24, 28, even up to 30. All these times I had one thing in mind, but guess what? That's not how it worked out. And so I tell you all that to say, as your road starts to wind, whether you think you know what you're going to do or not, be open to new things because your next destiny might just be right after you complete the thing that you think is your final chapter. Now, this is who I really am. I have these 3 gorgeous dogs and I'm married with 4 amazing kids. They're all grown now. So these are our kids. Matoshka is the big guy on my right, probably your left as you're viewing this with the black face. He's the dad. He's about 190, 195 pounds. His daughter is Rudy in the middle, and his dog wife is Sasha. She's the one laying down there. And this is in a field by our house as we were walking them. And these guys are just such a joy for me. Just the ability to hang out with them and hold them and snuggle with them and watch them do dog things. They're called Boz Shepherds. They're a wonderful breed out of Turkey. But when I'm not working, I love spending time with these guys. I love spending time fly fishing, being on a mountain bike, just kind of being outside. Any kind of workouts are really, really fun for me. So just as a human, I think it's important that we all realize that we have so much more than the professional side. Some of us are really driven on the professional side, but there's this thing that the professional life we choose should serve who we are as human beings. We shouldn't be slaves to our work unless work is our life. But for most of us, that's not going to be what it's about. It's that the work we do should be meaningful and it should support who we are as people. So just thought you would enjoy that picture of the cool dogs. Now, when it comes to choosing a career, man, we live in a different time. You guys are so lucky and so blessed in that you have options. And the options are, we have a picture of 4 options here, but there are so many more than that. In fact, today, if you wanted to do what I started out doing, which is being a chiropractor, you would definitely have to go the college route, right? You would have to go take your undergraduate stuff, then you go get your graduate work as your doctor of chiropractic stuff, take your state boards, your national boards, and then you pass your boards and then you open up your practice and then you start treating patients. And that's all good and well. But if you don't need a license to do a profession, you don't even have to go to college now. And I know for some people watching this, or maybe some parents or some teachers watching this, it could almost sound like blasphemy. But remember, there was a time when what the folks wanted to do was they wanted to be farmers. Everybody was a farmer. Everybody was a rancher. And then we moved to a different time where what you wanted to do was get a job with one of the big factories because it was so stable and you were going to get your pension and you were going to have a job for life and make plenty of money. And then it became, oh, you know what let's do? Let's go to college and let's get a degree. And from there, it's gone, let's still do that, but now let's be an entrepreneur. Well, I'm here to tell you, Now, with the internet being so big, there are an unlimited amount of ways that you can make a difference as a professional of some sort and make a living. But here's what I know. No matter what you do, you need to have passion. You need to be able to say that while you don't love everything about everything that you do every day, every moment, you need to say that what drives you is the passion behind what you're giving and what you're contributing and what meaning you're offering to your patients, your clients, your customers, your end user, whatever you want to call it, right? Just depends on what career that you choose. So the point in this part of the program is don't feel like you have to do anything except follow your dreams, because you can do an amazing thing and an amazing work teaching guitar. And there's so many ways that you can teach it if that's what you love to do, where you can still make a good living. Now, you may not make rock star money living if you're not a rock star, but if you, the main thing is with no matter what you're doing with your choosing career, choose with passion first. Now, once you've chosen a career, if you decide that you're going to go work for somebody else, now many of you may want to be an entrepreneur, and there's a whole bunch that goes into starting a business. With number one, understand that you need to know how to run a business, and running a business has a few components to it. One, you need to know how to get business. In other words, there's sales involved. Then you need to know, or you need to be able to have and fulfill some sort of promise to those clients that you're attracting. So you have a product or a service. What's the promise of that product or service? What problem does it answer? What thing does it provide that people need? What void does it fill? And then you need to figure out systems, policies, and procedures that allow you to deliver that promise every single time in a consistent way that meets or exceeds expectations. Now, there's one more thing to own in your own business before we talk about landing a job here, and that is it's all about people. If you're gonna own a business, if you're gonna be a manager, no matter what you do, even if you're working in a business, the people you surround yourself with, the people that you put around you, the people that serve the customers will ultimately determine the quality of the experience and the success of the business. But now bringing it back to landing a job, when it comes to landing a job, the first thing that I'd recommend is that you look at having a compelling resume. A compelling resume. Now, for me, I do a lot of hiring between the companies that I'm involved with, and a resume gets someone in the door, but it certainly doesn't make someone get hired. Like if I'm looking for someone, let's say, who's bilingual and they have a great work ethic, and I can see that they stick around places for a long time. Those are all things that I see on the resume as far as what they tell me, but your resume is always going to look good. So then when it comes to landing a job, make sure that you go into any interview that you do with your heart on your sleeve. In other words, don't go in cocky, don't go in overconfident, go in authentic, go in inquisitive, go in with wonder, asking what this company needs, and have you done your research on them? Do you know the company that you're going to work or that you're potentially going to work for? Have you looked at their website? Do you know who their CEO or who the owner is? Do you know what kind of things they like? With social media and with website stuff now, you can find out all of that. And you can go in as someone who's prepared, but don't go in cocky. Don't go in overconfident. Instead, go in humble, go in inquisitive, go in with wonder, and go in with your true self. If you're a funny person, use some humor. If you're shy, then you got to come out of your shell a little bit, but don't try to be something you're not. That would be my thoughts for landing a job. Now, if you're looking at, besides landing a job, once you get one, what about a career? Well, here's what I know when it comes to finding or building a career. There was a guy, a motivational speaker, his name was Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N, and he's passed away now, but he said this: work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And if you do, and you're building on yourself, and you invest in yourself, and you work on your personal development, then you can build the life, build the career, build the fortune that you want. But you must spend time developing who you are as a human, making yourself better, bringing more value than just going to work, putting in your time, doing your thing, can't wait to get out of there, can't wait for the weekends. One of the biggest pieces of advice I can give you is always, when you're working through, whether it's a job that you see as a stepping stone, or whether it's a career where you're wanting to move up through your ladder, or even building a business, always give more value than you feel like you're paid for. See, now I hear so many people saying, well, you know what? I don't get paid to do that. I don't get paid to pick up that piece of paper. I don't get paid to, walk around and just say hi to people. I don't get paid to make coffee. Whatever it is, when you feel like you're above something, someone's taking notice. And what it's doing is it's limiting your potential of people seeing that you're willing to do whatever it takes. Because when it comes to building a business and building a stellar career, you're going to do some things that you don't necessarily think that you should or have to do. But if you do those with a willing heart and a willing spirit, and so that people see that you're genuinely interested in doing great work all the time, they notice. And you may not feel like it, and they may not recognize it in front of you, but over time, it's going to build you opportunities. The other thing with keeping and building a career I would tell you and advocate for is that when someone asks you, hey, would you be interested in trying something like this? Or would you be willing to do that? That you always say yes. Unless it violates your ethical or your moral fabric, always say yes. And of course, if there's an ethical or a moral issue, then immediately say no. That tells you that's not a place that you want to be. But outside of that, anything that someone thinks that you might be good at, they might see something in you that you don't. And if they see that, what a tragedy it would be for you to be afraid or to back away or to say, no, I don't want to do that. When they saw expertise, they saw excellence that's just hiding right under the surface, and you walked away. So I would also say, whenever someone asks you to try or do something, say yes. Now, if you need resources, if you need help, if you need something, put that out there on the front side to say, yeah, I'm absolutely to try. Just let you know, like someone telling me to do something with tech or computers. I'm happy to try. I'm not going to say no, but I'm going to say, I don't know very much about this, so I'm going to need some help. I'm going to need a resource. I'm going to need a manual to read. I'm going to need something, and don't expect me to be great at it right now. So again, be honest and be authentic. It's not a total fake it till you make it thing, but rather it's I'm happy to try anything that will help this company, that will help these customers, these clients, these patients. I'm happy to try anything, and watch what that does for your career. Also, in keeping and building career, I'd say make sure that you bring enthusiasm to what you do. If you're the Debbie Downer, negative Nancy in the room, no offense to Debbie or Nancy's watching this, if you're that person whose energy is always coming down and how bad the weather always is and how the patients or the clients suck and how everybody's crazy and how this work is so hard, man, I'm telling you, that's going to keep you down from hitting your potential, and it's going to make people not want to be around you and not want to move you, certainly, up a career path. So my thought is do whatever you got to do, including good rest, exercise, good nutrition. Make sure that you're spending time taking care of a stress reduction plan and all of those things. We don't have time to go through them individually and in depth, but they're all critical in having you be ready to bring it, to bring energy, to bring passion, to bring fire every day, regardless of what your job is. It doesn't matter what your duty is and what you're doing. You want to do it with excellence and with passion. Next is, if I had advice to give to my high school self, there's so many of these things that I would think of, but number one would be to start working on my personal growth as soon as possible. As soon as possible. I would definitely recommend doing that. And that means finding mentors and talking to them frequently, reading books, listening to podcasts, going to seminars, whatever it is to help grow myself and my expertise in my areas of interest and passion. So if you wanted to do real estate, man, I'd be learning a whole bunch of stuff about real estate from as many places as I could. If you wanted to be a pet groomer, how do you do that? Who do you talk to? How do you start a business about that? Go find a volunteer stuff. Reminds me, going back to the previous slide of getting and landing career, be willing to donate time. Be willing to do internships for the short term so that you can get into the right people who can introduce you to who knows how many people in the long term. So those would be my two biggest pieces of advice. Be willing to donate your time early on. Don't think that you're worth anything other than the learning and the love and the joy and the passion and energy that you bring. That's number one. And number two, start working on yourself as soon as you can. Oh, here's a third one. Here's a bonus one. Make sure that you realize that everyone's doing the best they can. When you get to a person, you're like, oh man, this boss doesn't know anything, and this person I work with is an idiot, and this, that, and the other thing. If you see fault in everybody else, guess what? something's wrong on your side, number one, that you're being judgmental and you're being jaded. But number two, everyone's doing the best they can with the tools they have, with the systems that they understand, with where they're at in their life. So give people a break. That would be my third piece of advice. So with that, we went right at about 20 minutes. I hope this gives you some things towards your journey, and I hope it brings you some small piece of value that you can use. If you have questions or you ever want to get a hold of me, you can email me at jim@ramoslaw.com, and I'm happy to go into depth into any or all of these topics. I would love to hopefully meet you in person sometime. I would love to basically share with you what you're doing and get your perspective, because again, you guys all have brilliant ideas. You all have a way of looking at life in your own fabric. And so while not letting anybody put you into their box, you form your own box, you go your own way, but you use the wisdom and you use the value that you gain from all around you, whether it's from a book, whether it's from a TV program, whether it's from a presentation like this, whether it's from watching nature, whether it's from your parents, whatever it is, your church, take it all and build life your way. So if I can leave you with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, reach out to me. It's jim@ramoslaw.com. And thank you so much for spending this time with me. I wish you the best. Take good care.